Welcome everyone. So here we're putting up the panels. It's been I think a week or so since we put the no, 2 weeks since we put the frame up. So it was difficult because it was out of square. We're going to talk about that more at the end of this video. I just didn't want to give you like some silent treatment from me until the end of the video. So thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. And yeah, comment what you think. Do you have a Harbor Freight greenhouse? Did you make some custom what's the word, uh accommodations or structure? Did you enhance it somewhat? Please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. um Enjoy the rest of the video. Thank you. Yep. All right, everyone. I'm Jen.
I'm Steve.
Steve from Jen and Steve Shenanigans. So you watched us put our Harbor Freight greenhouse together. So now it's time to discuss what we did, what were the issues, what we should have done differently. I don't know. And this guy is the one that put it all together and has the brains. So that's why he's on the video.
So we bought the Harbor Freight greenhouse at Harbor Freight. Was what, $850, I think, roughly.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Most people can do it. I mean, some of the directions aren't very clear.
We were scratching our heads at some of them, wondering what. So some of the parts, when we were putting it together, we kind of had to put it together and say, this is what it looked like it wants us to do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it was right, and sometimes it was wrong.
Yep. So we put part of the I guess, what are they, not the panel system, but I guess they're the aluminum brackets to go up, put them up, and we had a couple of the braces go across in between that were wrong, but we.
Oh yeah, when we were putting the frame up.
Yeah.
And we put the braces that go along the long side of the walls.
We forgot in the corner brackets. We forgot the little spacer. Then we had to take that all apart.
Take it all apart. There's a little black spacer. So just so you know, if you go to put this together, when you put the little black spacer in it, those bars need to be. The spacer should be in the middle. And it doesn't. really say that in the instructions
Yes,
very
it's not
clearly.
very clear.
But we found that out because
We went
to go do something, and
Yeah,
it went in so much easier that way, and
Yeah.
it got put together so much easier that way. And then by looking at it, because Steve's the smart one, and he's an iron worker, so reading prints and stuff is typically a little bit easier for
but
him.
these prints aren't very clear. The majority of them is pretty easy, but maybe I could go through and highlight that sometime in another video. But so we got the greenhouse put up and everything, and then we went to put the panels in. And when I set the base, they show like in the I guess in the prints and everything that bury it in sand and stuff. But we live here in central Iowa, so we get a lot of rain here in springtime and fall time. So I'm thinking long term, well, if I bury it in the ground, it's going to be rusted out in a couple of years probably, roughly.
Or it'll get eroded out
Just
and
thinking,
just get
so.
unburied anyways. So
Didn't do that. I poured some concrete piers in there, and then I'm going to use some, I have some 2x4s in there now that I drilled some holes and attached some different things to. But when you get your base together, make sure it's all good, true, square, make sure it's level all the way around, and you start building it up. When you get your corner pieces put up and you start building your rooftop, everything's got to be good and square, and then make sure it's all level. I used just a little 2-inch ratchet strap. I had the majority of it square and everything, but I had one side of the roof that was just a little bit off, and I went to put the panels up, and it's like, oh, okay, this isn't going to work. So we started doing that on Saturday morning, which was actually our grandson's birthday. So
we were limited on time, but
Yeah.
we had enough time to get all the panels up had they gone up like they were
had they
supposed
gone up right.
to.
So
But
we
by the
stopped
time
and took them back down.
So what happened is the posts that Steve put into the concrete pads that he made, they when he screwed the posts into the frame, it kind of
shifted the
greenhouse just a little bit. So I guess if you're gonna do stabilize your greenhouse to some kind of posts or some base or whatever, maybe do that after the greenhouse is built.
Yeah. And what I initially did was I went through, I got everything set back to where it needed to be. I put the ratchet strap on the top to square up what was out, and then I went ahead and temporarily put in. I have 6 posts. I have 3 down each side, 1 in each corner, and then 2 in the center on the 12-foot sides. And I put those in there. I put those screws in lightly. I did the rooftop. It held pretty good.
And once it was square, because it took the first day that we tried putting in the panels in, it took us 2 hours to get 3 panels in.
Yeah,
because we were fighting with it.
Yep,
wasn't the next day, once everything, because once Steve finally got it square, we had about 2 hours.
Yeah, start to finish took about 2 hours.
We had about 2 hours before we had to be to his birthday party.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, well, it took us 2 hours to get to 3 panels, so we're not going to start this today. We're going to start it tomorrow. Well, had we known how easy it was?
Yeah.
Because once it was square,
it went really good.
It took us. I mean, in the video, it shows us.
Hours.
In the video, it shows us. Fast forwarding it, it shows 15 minutes, but it took us about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and that was to help with our father-in-law.
3 people. So there's that too.
And one thing I'll say on top of that is the panels come. They have a plastic sheeting on both sides of it. Some people put like metal duct tape to seal up the tops from water and stuff.
The metal electrical insulation tape.
Yeah, and then I ended up just caulking them because we get a lot of rain here, and I didn't want to have to go redo that every couple of years, so I figured
that took a lot of time.
Took a lot of time to do that,
but
at long run, I think it'll be better.
Yeah.
But then I also cheated, and I peeled all the plastic off of the panels first.
Yeah, before we even got started.
To make it that much quicker for me, just a simple thing that I thought that, would make it easier.
Instead of peeling the plastic off as we went,
And then what we did is, so we peeled all the plastic off each section because they're numbered. But once you peel that plastic off, then that number comes off with the plastic. So for each section that we did, we just took a little piece of
Scotch tape.
Painter's tape,
tape.
painter's scotch tape, wrote the number of the piece for the panels.
Yeah.
And then set those off in their own little pile. Yeah. It's pretty easy to differentiate,
whatever.
Differentiate.
There's
I can't say that word.
only one. There's not too many different sizes of panels, but we also built. We built the doors.
Yeah, we built the doors before.
And the vents. We put those together ahead of time, which I think the drawing says to do that anyways.
Yeah. Which is why in the video you don't see us putting the doors together, because I didn't even think about doing a video putting the doors together. But they were pretty easy to put together.
Yeah, they were pretty easy. They're pretty easy. At first looking at the picture, it's... for me, it was a little bit like... I scratched my head a little bit, but then I looked at it. I kind of laid the pieces out where they went. And I looked at it, I'm like, okay, now it makes sense, because there's 2 screw holes here. Looks like 2 screws going here and whatnot. But looking at the print, it's not...
You have to use a lot of common sense. I mean, not necessarily common sense, but it's just like you have to think about. Don't think you're just going to put the frame up and the panels up in one day. Yeah. That might not happen.
If you lived in an environment where you didn't have any wind, and had a handful of people that were somewhat decent of...
Create yourself an assembly line,
maybe some DIYers. I mean, anybody can do this that's done any kind of home project whatsoever.
We had the frame up for about 2 weeks, right? Yeah, it was about 2 weeks we had the frame up before we were able to get the panels in with us working. Weather, wind. We weren't going to put the panels up in any type of wind at all, because they're really light. And so you don't want to...
And wind would have been pretty hard to try and put things together with, too, because we had a slight breeze that day, but...
And we did do what a lot of people do, and we did take the self-tapping screws, and we figured we went ahead and we kind of did a little bit of everything that everybody has done, so that because we've seen people seal up their panels after a year of use because the rain gets in there and discolors it, and
figured we'd do that beforehand,
cloudies it up. So we did that. We put the self-tapping screws in and all the aluminum frame pieces that go across the panels, just because people have lost their panels with windstorms. The little clips that they send with them don't always work for that, so we did that. And then we did our structure as well. We put the frame with the 4x8s.
4x4s.
4x4s. Yep. Sorry.
That's okay. And
but we did all that, so it did take us a lot longer. So I mean, but hopefully in the long run, the greenhouse is going to last us a long time. The panels are going to stay clear and not be mildewy and cloudy over time. At least not as long, I hope. We'll see what happens. But so now all we have to do is just put our shelf. So the posts, the 4x4 posts, are actually a 2-in-1 deal. They're stabilizing the structure, but they're also going to be ways for us to build our shelves in the greenhouse as well. And that first day, it was 60 degrees outside. I put a thermometer in there.
This is the best part.
It was 60 degrees outside. I put a thermometer in there. The sun came out, was beating on it, and it got up to about 100 degrees within 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
I went in there to put some I tilled it down and put some weed barrier in there. Just we're not 100% sure whether we're putting gravel in there or pavers or
we may
growing
plant
stuff in there in the ground itself. We're not 100% sure yet, but I was in there going, oh man, it's hot in here. Really hot.
I had to open the doors in order to...
I like to cool.
But
cool.
So, but at night it's getting down to about the temperature that it is outside. So, and I think part of that is due to we haven't had any moisture.
And we don't have anything. In there
We don't
whatsoever.
have humidity right now here in Iowa. So there's no humidity and moisture going on in there in order for the sun to evaporate, because we don't have any of our plants in there yet, because we don't have our shelves in there yet. So our vegetables and stuff are still in the house growing. But so yeah, so if there's any questions or comments, or you got any tips and tricks, leave a comment and let us know. Really like to hear from you, and we'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for watching. God bless.
Good night.